after she reacted to President Murmu's speech in the Parliament today. It was a joint address of the President to both houses of Parliament. Nudged by Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi went on to say that poor lady looked like she was tired by the end of it. That has now triggered a massive storm. Prime Minister Modi, who was on campaign trail here in the national capital, has also raked it up, talking about Congress's first family, accusing the Gandhis of being elitist and insulting the poor and marginalized of this country. The Prime Minister there not only taking aim at the Aam Aadmi Party but also at the Congress there as far as his Delhi campaign goes. This time around over what Sonia Gandhi had said earlier in the day, right after President Draupadi Murmu's joint address to the Parliament on the first day of the budget session of the Parliament. Prime Minister there accusing the Congress, the Gandhis especially, of insulting the constitutional post of the President, of hitting out at the marginalized, the tribals and the poor of this country who've made it to the top office. Aman, my colleague, now joining us, getting us more perspective on this. Aman, it was a comment that was made by a 76-year-old woman is what Priyanka Gandhi came out and said, try to justify, to not make a big deal out of what she said. But now the Prime Minister himself has raked it up.
Well, a big attack by the BJP led by the Prime Minister himself. Earlier in the day, we had the BJP President speak about it. The President office has put out a statement, and now we have the Prime Minister come out and say that the Congress Shahi family today has disrespected the President. He said that if the Shahi family finds the address of the President boring, it is an insult of the entire 10 crore strong tribal community of India. That's a very, very strong statement. And the BJP really feels that, this in fact shows the mindset of the Gandhi family. That's what the BJP is telling me, that by saying, oh, poor lady, she was very tired by the end of it. Was the Congress actually trying to, Sonia Gandhi trying to question the competence of the President to, speak for over an hour? The President office has clearly put out a statement now saying the President was not unwell, she was not tired by the end of the speech. This is a constitutional duty which happens in the eve of the budget session. The President makes a long address on the behalf of the government. The BJP has a problem with the way that word was said, very loose comments. That's what the BJP is telling us by Sonia Gandhi, who's herself a senior woman leader of the Congress party. So even more disrespectful coming from the top, from the Congress party. And now the Congress party is trying to, I think, do a lot of damage control by now saying that, her statements has been misinterpreted by media, or it was not meant for the media. It was a discussion between two MPs. But clearly the Prime Minister now speaking on the occasion, slamming the Congress Shahi Parivar, as he's calling it, as well as the President office issuing a clarification and saying that the President was not at all unwell. Very unprecedented that the Rashtrapati Bhavan and the Prime Minister both have spoken on this issue after what we heard in the morning inside the Parliament.
It's just day one of the budget session of Parliament. Is this something that could spill over into next week as well once the budget is presented tomorrow? Because all of tomorrow is going to be going into the presentation of the budget, but there is going to be a debate on that and of course the rest of the session that follows next week. Is this something that the BJP could rake up both inside and outside the House?
I think most surely the BJP is going to make a very, very big issue out of this, especially when the reply happens on the President's address in the Parliament next week, soon after the laying of the budget. This will be something that the BJP will point out, that you are not just disrespecting, the President of the country, you're disrespecting a woman, a tribal leader, and there is a pattern to it that the BJP feels, because right from the point that Draupadi Murmu's name was proposed by the NDA for the President's post, the government had reached out to the Congress party, appealed to them that it should be a unanimous choice. Congress party put up a candidate even at that point of time. Rahul Gandhi has been the LOP for over 6 months now, but he's not paid a customary visit yet to Rashtrapati Bhavan on the President. So BJP feels there is a pattern to it, that the continuous disrespect given to the President of the country by the Congress party.
Aman, do stay on with us. Let's actually listen into what the Prime Minister said while he was on campaign trail. He is campaigning here in the national capital, which goes to elections in a few days from now. 5th of February is when Delhi will vote. But his aim at that rally was not just the incumbent Aam Aadmi Party. He raked up Sonia Gandhi's comments outside the Parliament as well. Listen in to what the Prime Minister said.
द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी उड़ीसा के जंगलों में आदिवासी परिवार से निकल करके यहां पहुंची है। उनकी मातृभाषा हिंदी नहीं है, वो उड़िया भाषा में पली बड़ी है। मातृभाषा न होने के बावजूद भी उन्होंने बेहतरीन तरीके से आज संसद को प्रेरित किया, भाषण दिया। लेकिन कांग्रेस का शाही परिवार उनके अपमान पर उतर आया है। शाही परिवार के एक सदस्य ने कहा कि आदिवासी बेटी ने बोरिंग भाषण दिया। दूसरी सदस्य तो इससे भी एक कदम आगे बढ़ गई। उन्होंने राष्ट्रपति जी को पुअर थिंग कहा, गरीब कहा और चीज कहा, थकी हुई कहा। एक आदिवासी बेटी का बोलना इनको बोरिंग लगता है। ये देश के 10 करोड़ आदिवासी भाई बहनों का अपमान है। ये देश के हर गरीब का अपमान है। जो जमीन से ऊपर उठकर आते हैं उनको कांग्रेस का शाही परिवार बिल्कुल पसंद नहीं करता।
Arun also joining us, getting us more perspective on this. Arun, it's the sharpest attack that the Prime Minister has made, not only slamming the comment made by Sonia Gandhi, but also referring to the first family of the Congress party, the Gandhis, calling them the Shahi Parivar, also making it a much larger deal about the tribal community as a whole and not just about Draupadi Murmu herself.
Well, that's right. Beside targeting Aam Aadmi Party for Delhi polls, Prime Minister Modi ensured that he takes a dig on the Shahi Parivar. He did not name Gandhi or Sonia Gandhi, but when he said Shahi Parivar, it was amply clear that he was actually taking on Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi. Prime Minister very categorically said that Draupadi Murmu has come from a tribal background from Odisha, and Hindi is not her first language. Still, she gave a wonderful speech, a very good speech in Parliament today, and these family members of Shahi Parivar targeted her, calling her, a poor thing, a tired, thaki hui, all Gandhi family coming during this rally in Dwarka. We all know what happened during the day after the speech of President Draupadi Murmu, how, Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, of course, came up with those points about the speech. So it was very much expected that Prime Minister Modi would speak on that. And in fact, he highlighted this front, the background of Draupadi Murmu, the hard work which she has given over the years, and wherever she is today, it is because of her hard work. And a person like Draupadi Murmu, when she is speaking in Hindi, which is not, of course, her first language, instead of giving her respect, giving respect to her speech, these members of Shahi family are insulting her, calling her a poor thing, a boring speech, or a thaki hui. So I think it's a significant attack, a direct attack coming from Prime Minister Modi.
Right, Arun, do stay on with us. Prime Minister Modi there mincing no words as far as his attack on Sonia Gandhi is concerned. Let's listen into what Sonia Gandhi actually said, because the Congress says that it was just a banter informally that was taking place between her and the other MPs of the Congress, which included Priyanka Gandhi Vadra and Rahul Gandhi. Listen into what transpired in that conversation, which has now triggered a controversy, and the justification that came to the fore later on.
No comment.
No, the poor lady, President.
Repeating the same thing
No,
again
she
and
could
again.
hardly speak properly. My mother is a 78-year-old lady. She simply said that the president must have been tired reading such a long speech. Poor thing. I don't think she fully respects, in fact, she has the utmost respect for her. And I think it's very unfortunate that this kind of thing is twisted by the media. They are both respected people. They are older than us. They are a certain age now, and it's pretty clear that she means no disrespect. जिस खाई में इन्होंने इस देश को डुबोया है, पहले उसके लिए माफी मांगे.
Arun, the BJP wants the Congress party, Sonia Gandhi specifically, to apologize for what they claim is the insult to the highest office of this country. The Congress on its part going on to say that this is just Sonia Gandhi's remarks that are being twisted.
Well, see, we just heard, Priyanka Gandhi in fact, defending that statement of Sonia Gandhi. But of course, you've already given a thing in a platter to BJP, and I think that's the reason why we saw that BJP leaders have been speaking about this thing. And in fact, when Prime Minister Modi talks about something, and that is of course a message for other BJP leaders also, that we need to really follow this, and we will really have to take opposition or Congress party head on this matter. And perhaps you will see tomorrow this matter will also be escalated. But I think one thing is very clear, that BJP has been highlighting this thing, that Congress party or the opposition have been of this nature, that when Draupadi Murmu, Draupadi Murmu's name was nominated for the president, these people did not support being a tribal, coming from a very, very poor background. She was not supported by the Congress party. In fact, she was insulted by the Congress party. So this was the point which BJP has been highlighting for many years now. And today, when you have this address of president in the parliament, right after that, such statements coming out from Sonia Gandhi is something which hasn't gone down well with the BJP. And I think that's the reason why we saw Prime Minister Modi in this rally, in this election rally, straight away taking on Sonia Gandhi and reminding her that it's not an insult which she has done of Draupadi Murmu, the president, but it is an insult of the entire tribal community in the country, and also it is an insult for each and every Indian.
Absolutely. That's the stance that the BJP has taken. Pallavi is with us on this as well. Pallavi, so far the Congress has been maintaining that this is a classic case of remarks being taken out of context, being misinterpreted and then twisted. Also accusing the BJP of making a mountain of a molehill. But now that the Prime Minister himself has waded into this entire controversy, is there going to be a change of strategy by the Congress perhaps?
It doesn't seem like it, because even as we speak, the Congress President, Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge, has gone on to attack and now question the BJP and saying the day Draupadi Murmu was not invited for the inauguration of the new Parliament building, that was the day that she was insulted. So despite the damage control which was done by Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, saying that there was no disrespect which was being shown towards the President, and both of them are same in age and therefore both of them have their own concerns, and it's wrong of the media to distort that entire banter in a wrong way. It clearly goes on to show that the Congress as a political party will not want to be seen on a back foot, and in fact throwing it back at the BJP, giving two instances. One, the Ram Mandir Pran Pratishtha, and second, of course, the inauguration of the new Parliament building as instances where the President, by not being invited, by it being a government function, was actually the ultimate disrespect to the Rashtrapati Bhavan.
Absolutely, ultimate disrespect of not the person but of the position. That's the stance that the BJP has taken. Pallavi, could we see this spilling over into the Parliament session as well? Tomorrow, of course, all of tomorrow is going to go on into the budget presentation, but there is, from next week onwards, there's going to be a discussion on the budget. There are going to be several other bills that are tabled. Is this an issue that could come up both inside and outside the Parliament? What is your sense of that?
I think the BJP would not want the Congress party to forget it. I mean, the Prime Minister certainly spoke at the Delhi rally today. Now, when a Prime Minister is going to respond and intervene during the discussion on the budget, I wouldn't be too surprised if he's going to take on the Congress party and also make the point that there are a bunch of entitled leaders. And this is where the instance of Sonia Gandhi also will be brought up, and the fact that Rahul Gandhi had called the entire speech as boring. So much as the Congress party may want to bring the focus onto a budget or on other issues that it has piled up, the BJP is always going to hit back on this particular point, that your talk about bringing the caste census, giving justice to the downtrodden is just eyewash. It is just talk which is never followed up.
Right, Pallavi and Arun, thank you so much for joining us and getting us more perspective on this. But the political war of words is only escalating. Let's listen into some of those reactions.
हमारा देश का महामहिम राष्ट्रपति जी का संसद में जो अभिभाषण हुई है, पूरा देश ने सराहना किया है। लेकिन कांग्रेस नेता श्रीमती सोनिया गांधी जी और विपक्ष के कुछ नेताओं ने जो टिप्पणी की है, मैं उसका घोर निंदा करता हूं। हमारा देश का राष्ट्रपति एक महिला आदिवासी है, ये कमजोर नहीं है। पहली बार एक महिला आदिवासी इस देश का राष्ट्रपति बनी है, तो इनको हजम नहीं हो रहा है और इसको कमजोर बताती है।
'Right, Pallavi and Arun, thank you so much for joining us and getting us more perspective on this. But the political war of words is only escalating. Let's listen into some of those reactions.
हमारा देश का महामहिम राष्ट्रपति जी का संसद में जो अभिभाषण हुई है, पूरा देश ने सराहना किया है। लेकिन कांग्रेस नेता श्रीमती सोनिया गांधी जी और विपक्ष के कुछ नेताओं ने जो टिप्पणी की है, मैं उसका घोर निंदा करता हूं। हमारा देश का राष्ट्रपति एक महिला आदिवासी है, ये कमजोर नहीं है। पहली बार एक महिला आदिवासी इस देश का राष्ट्रपति बनी है, तो इनको हजम नहीं हो रहा है और इसको कमजोर बताती है।
बेचारी का तो कोई दोष नहीं, राष्ट्रपति हैं, वो तो स्टाम्प है और किसी का लव लेटर पढ़ना है उनको। बेचारी का तो कोई दोष नहीं, राष्ट्रपति हैं, वो तो स्टाम्प है और किसी का लव लेटर पढ़ना है उनको।
Government has made a president to make a political speech, pakka political speech. Nothing is new. Everything is only lies, complete jumlas. Nothing else.
What would you rate as the takeaway from the president's address?
Look, it was a very predictable address. I don't think we can really say there was anything surprising or unexpected or revelatory about it. What will affect many of us are the large number of omissions, the number of issues facing the nation, from the economy to unemployment, and of course many of our issues in specific states which were not even mentioned in the address. Otherwise, you are expecting to hear the president praise the government and talk about all the things the government has done. It's what the government has not done or not done well enough that I think is on top of our mind. आज राष्ट्रपति जी ने अभिभाषण पेश किया, लेकिन सोनिया गांधी कह रही हैं थकी हुई लग रही थी, बहुत बोरिंग था भाषण।
देखिए, मैं इस प्रकार की अहंकार की शब्दों को निंदा करता हूं। देश की परम आदरणीय राष्ट्रपति जो खुद एक महिला है, वंचित वर्ग से आते हैं, आदिवासी वर्ग से आते हैं, ये कांग्रेस पार्टी कभी सुधरेगी नहीं। उनकी बेटा और वो मां दोनों मिलके एक प्रकार से भारत की महिला शक्ति को गाली दे रहे हैं, भारत की वंचित वर्ग की लोगों को गाली देते हैं, आदिवासी लोगों को गाली देते हैं और हमारे उड़ीसा को उन्होंने अपमानित किया। इस प्रकार के सामंतवादी लोग, महाप्रभु जगन्नाथ इनको सद्बुद्धि दे, ये सुधर जाए। लोग उनको अभी भी तो बाहर रखे हैं, लंबे समय तक ये बाहर रहेंगे।
और भी प्रियंका गांधी को करिए, बिल्कुल कोई मुद्दा ही नहीं था जो भारत की तस्वीर होनी चाहिए वो पेश करनी चाहिए।
उनकी समझ जितना उतना ही समझ पाएंगे, ना समझ लोगों को हमारे पास कोई उत्तर नहीं।
It is a really funny. Whatever, there is no. You just compare the 2024 speech and 2025 speech, or are equal. Narendra Modi has not developed in a 1 year. That has been proved. There is no progress at all. I am really frustrated with this speech.
स्पष्ट रूप से हम कहना चाहेंगे कि महामहिम राष्ट्रपति कदाचित बेचारी नहीं हो सकती है। भारतवर्ष एक गणतंत्र है, विश्व का सर्वोच्च लोकतंत्र है और इस लोकतंत्र की जो प्रथम नागरिक है वह आदिवासी समाज से आई एक महिला है और कदाचित एक आदिवासी समाज से आई महिला एक पुअर थिंग कोट अनकोट बेचारी नहीं हो सकती है। वो सशक्त है, सबल है। राहुल गांधी ही वो पुअर थिंग है जिनको बार बार लॉन्च करने की कोशिश कांग्रेस पार्टी करती है, बट द पुअर थिंग नेवर गेट्स लॉन्च्ड। वो लॉन्च ही नहीं हो पाते हैं। सोनिया जी को अपने इस टिप्पणी के लिए क्षमा याचना महामहिम राष्ट्रपति जी से करनी चाहिए।
Shambhavi, Sonia Gandhi has said that the president's speech looked very tiring and boring, and the president herself looked very tired. What do you have to say?
I think it's her lookout. The way she perceives the president's address shows a lot about what she thinks of this country, because I think the president, honorable president of India, very beautifully laid down the vision that she has created for our country and how the budget will look forward. And it is the opposition's, I think it's very irresponsible and disrespectful of the opposition to make such a comment on President's address.
First it was Adhiranjan Chaudhary, now Sonia Gandhi. You think that they have no respect for a tribal president?
Of course it shows that we've seen that they have this, the opposition has a tendency of disrespecting people on honorable posts, and you might disagree with our policies, but you can't disagree with the fact that they represent our country. And whenever you say irresponsible, whenever you make an irresponsible remark on them, it shows what you think of the country as a whole.
Mr. Reddy, Sonia Gandhi was speaking, after the president's address, and she said it was very sad. The president sounded very tired and poor thing. She said, poor thing, I feel for her.
I think she should not mistake solemnness and honesty for tiredness. And I think they don't understand the difference.
Moving on now to some breaking news that's coming in. This is to do with Prime Minister Modi's US visit. This is something that was confirmed by President of the United States, Donald Trump, just a few days ago. Now there's confirmation coming in from the Indian side as well that that visit could happen at the earliest. The dates are still being worked out, is what the Ministry of External Affairs has now come out and confirmed. Aman joining us, getting us more details. Aman, the MEA extremely confident that the earliest possible dates would be chalked out?
Well, it seems that because the call between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi, which happened earlier this week also, both the leaders had decided, and in fact President Trump wanted PM Modi to come in the month of February itself to the White House to pay him a visit, and Mr. Modi is also very inclined to go. Both sides expressed their inclination to do this trip as soon as possible. What we are hearing is that the Prime Minister is going to France for the Artificial Intelligence Summit on February 10th and 11th. So the Indian side would like to club that maybe with the US visit as well. So the Prime Minister goes to France and then he goes to the US, but all will depend on the availability of Mr. Trump also at that particular time in the White House. So both sides are working, but we could see maybe this visit happen of the Prime Minister to the US to the White House in the early half of February, because both sides are very, very keen to do this visit very soon.
The dates will be out soon, says the MEA. Aman, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. We'll keep a track of that and much more here on Nation at 5. But for now, it's time for a quick break.
Here's a reality check, and we're going to tick through three things that he said. The first one was that former Presidents Barack Obama and Joe Biden undermined aviation safety standards with DEI hiring practices at the FAA. That is just misleading. Now, we should note that this administration recently wiped the federal websites, many of them, of any mention of DEI. But when you do an Internet Archive search, the FAA's DEI policy has actually been on the agency's website and actually been in effect since at least 2013, and certainly during the first Trump administration. So he's trying to link it to these two past presidents, but it in fact was very much in effect and on the website during his first presidency. And then this idea of lowered standards. I should point out that despite today's air disaster, Jim, the FAA points out that they have some 45,000 flights that land and take off, traveling with 2.9 million people every single day, and this sort of incident is incredibly rare. So the United States is still considered the gold standard when it comes to aviation safety. But I want to go to the next thing that he said. The president said, this was the claim, and I'm quoting, the FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workplace. They want them in so that they can be air traffic controllers. That claim is simply misleading. He also went on to say the FAA website states they include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, and there's a long list of other disabilities. And if you have any of those, you qualify for the position of controller. And that too is misleading. Look, he is pulling language that did exist on the FAA's DEI website. That language is certainly there, but they were speaking about a broader commitment to not discriminating against people with disabilities across the federal government. And as we know, there are laws on the books that make it illegal to discriminate against someone because of disabilities. But on the FAA website, it also states that if you are going to be an air traffic controller, you have to pass a medical examination, a security investigation, an FAA air traffic pre-employment skills assessment, and you also have to attend the academy. And the academy is quite stringent. And the bottom line is, if you don't have the skills to pass through the air traffic control academy, you are not directing planes in the tower. So that was misleading. Here's a reality check, and we're going to tick through three things that he said. The first one was that former Presidents Barack Obama and Joe Biden undermined aviation safety standards with DEI hiring practices at the FAA. That is just misleading. Now, we should note that this administration recently wiped the federal websites, many of them, of any mention of DEI. But when you do an Internet Archive search, The FAA's DEI policy has actually been on the agency's website and actually been in effect since at least 2013 and certainly during the first Trump administration. So he's trying to link it to these two past presidents, but it in fact was very much in effect and on the website during his first presidency. And then this idea of lowered standards. I should point out that despite today's air disaster, Jim, the FAA points out that they have some 45,000 flights that land and take off, traveling with 2.9 million people every single day. And this sort of incident is incredibly rare. So the United States is still considered the gold standard when it comes to aviation safety. But I want to go to the next thing that he said. The president said, this was the claim, and I'm quoting, the FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workplace. They want them in so that they can be air traffic controllers. That claim is simply misleading. He also went on to say the FAA website states they include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, and there's a long list of other disabilities. And if you have any of those, you qualify for the position of controller. And that too is misleading. Look, he is pulling language that did exist on the FAA's DEI website. That language is certainly there, but they were speaking about a broader commitment to not discriminating against people with disabilities across the federal government. And as we know, there are laws on the books that make it illegal to discriminate against someone because of disabilities. But on the FAA website, it also states that if you are going to be an air traffic controller, you have to pass a medical examination, a security investigation, an FAA air traffic pre-employment skills assessment, and you also have to attend the academy. And the academy is quite stringent. And the bottom line is, if you don't have the skills to pass through the air traffic control academy, you are not directing planes in the tower. So that was misleading. Here's a reality check, and we're going to tick through three things that he said. The first one was that former Presidents Barack Obama and Joe Biden undermined aviation safety standards with DEI hiring practices at the FAA. That is just misleading. Now, we should note that this administration recently wiped the federal websites, many of them, of any mention of DEI. But when you do an Internet Archive search, the FAA's DEI policy has actually been on the agency's website and actually been in effect since at least 2013 and certainly during the first Trump administration. So he's trying to link it to these two past presidents, but it in fact was very much in effect and on the website during his first presidency. And then this idea of lowered standards. I should point out that despite today's air disaster, Jim, the FAA points out that they have some 45,000 flights that land and take off, traveling with 2.9 million people every single day. And this sort of incident is incredibly rare. So the United States is still considered the gold standard when it comes to aviation safety. But I want to go to the next thing that he said. The president said this was...
Thank you for staying with us here on Nation at 5. Delhi goes to polls on the 5th of February, just about 4 days left, and all parties are looking at wooing key voter bases. Purvanchali is one of them. There are at least 20 assembly seats that this particular voter base could impact, which is why we're seeing the BJP, the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party, all of them trying to woo them alike. Arunima, my colleague, gets us this special report.
For long, people from Bihar, Jharkhand and eastern Uttar Pradesh have played second fiddle to Punjabi and Baniya population of Delhi, at least politically speaking. But all that changed over the last decade or so. Now 1/6 of the total Delhi population comprises of people who are originally from Bihar, Jharkhand or eastern Uttar Pradesh. No wonder then that this election season, the Purvanchali vote is something that all parties are vying for. Bhim Sen ji was one of the original proponents of a Purvanchali association and giving them political voice here in the national capital. Professor Saab, thank you so much for speaking to CNN News 18. Today, when all political parties are trying to woo the Purvanchalis, what do you think? Their time has finally come under the sun It is their time in the national capital now.
But now is the right time for us, the Purvanchalis, to be united, which they are not. But now they have to be united under the banner of Purvanchal and support the present central government, Modi ji led government, because here lies the future of the not only the country, Purvanchal in particular, and national interest in general.
You were one of the first ones to start a Purvanchali association.
Yes.
Why did you feel the need for such a platform? What is that demand which you think was unfulfilled?
Because we as Purvanchalis here, we were so much humiliated at every stage.
But sir, today, 5 decades later or 4 decades later, are the issues same? Is the same thing that on top of mind of the Purvanchali voter in 2025 as it was in 1994?
No.
What has changed?
No, now we are the kingmaker.
So Litti Chokha, which was so far considered a staple of Bihar and Jharkhand, is now at the corners of Delhi as well. We found one Litti Chokha seller here. आप साल भर से ये काम कर रहे हैं, उसके पहले नौकरी करते थे, तो क्या नौकरी में दिक्कत हुई इसलिए ये काम शुरू किया?
मैं अपने शौक से करा ये काम। पहले हमने सोचा कि काम करके कुछ देखते हैं, सक्सेस हुआ तो ठीक है, नहीं तो नौकरी तो वही है।
अच्छा मुझे बताइए, आप 9 साल से बुरारी में रह रहे हैं, 9 साल में क्या परिवर्तन, कुछ देखा है, कुछ अच्छा हुआ है, कुछ अच्छा होना चाहिए था जो नहीं हुआ है, क्या बदला है?
गलियों की अब तो सड़कें बहुत सुधार हो चुकी है, पहले बहुत खराब थी लेकिन अब सही है, सरकार कुछ काम कर रही है।
ये जो महिलाओं के लिए बहुत सारे सरकारी की तरफ से कहा जा रहा है, कोई कह रहा है 1100 देगा, कोई कह रहा है 2100, कोई कह रहा है 2500, अभी तक आपको मिला है पैसा सरकार, किसी भी सरकार की तरफ से, किसी भी पार्टी की तरफ से?
अभी नहीं मिला है।
उम्मीद है आपको?
मिलेगा भी नहीं।
आपको नहीं लगता है मिलेगा? हाँ, दिल्ली आने से पहले कहाँ रहती थी?
उत्तराखंड रहती थी।
उत्तराखंड में? तो उत्तराखंड छोड़ के दिल्ली क्यों आई?
बच्चे को तकलीफ है, वहाँ पर हॉस्पिटल गाँव में कहाँ होते हैं, हमारे तो हॉस्पिटल पास में ही है। बेटी की तबीयत की वजह से आई, मेन तो ये था रीजन। हस्बैंड तो पहले से दिल्ली में थे, लेकिन मेरी बेटी की संजीव भैया जो है उन्होंने, असित भैया, इन लोगों ने मेरी बेटी का ना पाँव में दिक्कत है। अच्छा। तो डिसेबिलिटी का कार्ड भी बनाया है ना, और क्या कहते हैं, मतलब हमारे बहुत, और बदले में एक पैसा भी नहीं लिया।
आजा देवली 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 देवली।
With a significant Bihari population, BJP's allies JDU and LJP are contesting from the Burari and Deoli seats respectively.
पर आपको लगता है चाहे मुंगेर से हो, चाहे छपरा से हो, चाहे बनारस अयोध्या से हो, सारे पूर्वांचलियों के मुद्दे दिल्ली चुनाव में एक ही है?
देखिए, जो पूर्वांचल के लोग जो आए हैं, जैसे मैं अपना एग्जाम्पल देता हूँ कि जब मैं वहाँ से आया तो यहाँ रोजी रोटी की तलाश में मैं दिल्ली आया, तो दिल्ली में आया, किसी तरह से जॉब मिला, छोटी मोटी जॉब मिली, प्राइवेट जॉब मिली, हमने काम किया, बच्चों को पाला हुआ। अब क्या है कि हम लोग जब से किराए पर रह रहे हैं, आज तक किराए पर रह रहे हैं हम लोग, हमने कभी अपना मकान बना नहीं पाया क्योंकि कोई तो सुविधा नहीं मिली। आज जो मैं जहाँ किराए पर रह रहा हूँ, वहाँ आज किराए में मकान में जैसे 5000 रुपये किराया दूँ और उसका सारा सुविधा कुछ है नहीं।
किस तरह की सुविधा नहीं मिली?
सुविधा जैसे कि मान लिया कि देखिए, आज जैसे बिजली बिल, केजरीवाल ने क्या बोला था कि भाई 200 यूनिट बिजली बिल है, भाई हम लोग को बिजली बिल कहाँ फ्री है?
आपको क्या लगता है, पूर्वांचल से जो लोग आए हैं,
हाँ।
क्या वो सब लोग एक जैसा सोचते हैं?
नहीं, एक जैसा सोच है, एक जैसा सोच किसी का नहीं है। अपने एक परिवार में एक जैसा सोच नहीं है, तो पूर्वांचल वालों को हम कैसे कह दें कि एक जैसा सोच है? एक जैसा सोच किसी का नहीं है, अपना अपना दिमाग, अपना अपना सोच।
जो दिल्ली में राजनीति पूर्वांचलियों की हो रही है, क्या जात पात के आधार पर ही वोट पड़ेगा?
नहीं, जात पात के आधार पर वोट नहीं पड़ता।
आप सबको लगता है?
जात पात यहीं पे है, मैं ये बता दूं,
पहले इनसे एक बार पूछ लूँ। हाँ,
जात पात के आधार पर कभी वोट नहीं पड़ता। वोट पड़ता है जो कैंडिडेट की प्रतिभा और उसके जो दल है उसके आस्था और विश्वास के अनुरूप वोट पड़ता है। तो जो कैंडिडेट है उसके अनुरूप और जो वोटर्स है वो उनका रुझान होता है।
मतलब जैसे बाकी के दिल्ली कैंडिडेट को देख रहे हैं, वैसे आप लोग भी पूर्वांचली समाज भी कैंडिडेट
को देखता है।
10 सालों में यहाँ क्या बदलाव आया है?
बदलाव आया है, एक तो बच्चे नशा करने लगे हैं, स्कूलों में जितने भी हैं बिगड़ गए हैं, वो टीचरों की तनख्वाहें बढ़ गई हैं। गरीब आदमी के लिए कोई बदलाव नहीं है, बदलाव ये है उनके बच्चे बदल गए हैं बस।
नहीं, आपने नशे की बात की तो शराब, ड्रग्स
सब बिकता है जी, सब कहीं सब जगह बिक रहा है। ये पास में स्कूलों के पास बिक रहा है, कोई नहीं रोक पाता उसको।
Moving on now, Gulmarg and Kashmir as a whole has turned into winter wonderland. There are tourists from across the country and around the world that are flocking to Gulmarg to soak in that atmosphere, to take in this experience that you would not be able to perhaps in entire of this country at least, if not worldwide. My colleague Ishan actually travelled from Srinagar to Gulmarg to catch us a glimpse of what we may be missing sitting at our homes. Listen.
हमारा ये गुलमर्ग तो एक तरह से भारत के लिए विंटर गेम्स की कैपिटल बनता जा रहा है। गुलमर्ग में 4 खेलो इंडिया विंटर गेम्स हो चुके हैं। अगले महीने 5वें खेलो इंडिया विंटर गेम्स भी शुरू होने वाले हैं।
It came from none other than the Prime Minister, who called Gulmarg the Winter Games capital of India. Gulmarg has attracted travellers, tourists and winter sports lovers for decades. Early snowfall this year has opened the floodgates for winter tourism in Kashmir. Adventure lovers have arrived for skiing and snowboarding. This has led to a surge in bookings, which is only expected to boost the economy of Jammu and Kashmir.
This year it's better than last year. Last year there was absolutely no snow, no sign of any snow. बहुत कम snow था. This time is definitely better, and I think coming to Gulmarg always is a very special experience. The skiing is one part of it, and thankfully this time the snow gods are aligning with us. But the culture, the hospitality, the food, all in all, it's an experience that is so important, especially for every Indian to have, our children to have. I have 2 young boys who are waiting for the ski lift right now. So yeah, it's sensational. This is the beginners, the bunny slope, which is where we're at. So this is where we all start and then eventually make our way to phase 1 chairlift and phase 2 as well.
So Gulmarg has soft snow, so skiing is very easy here, and it's my 3rd day and I'm doing it for the first time, and I'm able to make turns and I'm very happy about it.
The slopes in Gulmarg are made for both experienced skiers and beginners. Called the heartland of winter sports, it invites enthusiasts to ski down its slopes and embark on tranquil walks through the enchanting scenery. Gulmarg is also hosting another edition of the Khelo India Winter Games next month. Every corner here offers a postcard-worthy view with the best slopes in South Asia for winter activities.
But the experience is amazing. We are able to ski. We are much better than last year.
Yes, it can replace Switzerland. Obviously, phase 1 and phase 2 can replace Switzerland.
The infrastructure should be improved a bit. The lines, ski lifts are very less and need to increase the frequency of the lifts.
Many are now comparing Gulmarg with Switzerland because of what it has to offer. As per Tourism Department estimates, 33% of the population of Jammu and Kashmir is directly or indirectly connected to tourism.
Gulmarg is dotted with tourists, a lot of influx of tourists because of the snowfall, and in coming days it's expected that it will grow with the increase in the snowfall, and also the tourist activities and this Khelo India will bring a boost to the local economy of Kashmir. With Bashir Lone in Gulmarg, Ishanwani for CNN News 18.
Tomorrow is India's budget day. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is going to be presenting her 8th consecutive budget, which is a record in itself. But what is in it for the Aam Aadmi? That's a question that every salaried class taxpayer asks every single year before budget. Is there anything in it for me? Are there going to be any tax reliefs? Well, at the moment, there are 2 tax regimes, the old and the new. It looks like that in the near future, the old tax regime could be done away with, or at least that's what the speculation is. But until it exists, which one should you opt for? We get you a ready reckoner.
Personal income tax. Coming to personal income tax rates, I have 2 announcements to make for those opting for the new tax regime.
With Budget 2025 just around the corner, many taxpayers are wondering, will it change how much tax you pay? Will Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman introduce new slabs, better exemptions, or even tweak deductions? And more importantly, should you opt for the old tax regime or shift to the new one? Today, we'll break it all down, compare both regimes, and help you make the best decisions for your tax savings. Make sure to watch till the end to see real examples and comparisons that could save you thousands in taxes. The old tax regime allows individuals to claim multiple deductions and exemptions, making it beneficial for those with structured tax planning. Deductions like ATC, ATD, HRA and home loan interest significantly reduce taxable income. However, it requires proper documentation and detailed record keeping, which can be cumbersome for some taxpayers. Introduced in 2020, the new tax regime aims to simplify tax filing by offering lower tax rates by eliminating most deductions and exemptions. Taxpayers opting for this regime cannot claim benefits under ATC, ATD, HRA or home loan interest, making it a trade-off between the lower tax rate and available tax saving options.
The government has been pushing for a shift towards this new structure, making it more attractive with potential revision in Budget 2025. If you rely on deductions to lower your tax burden, the old regime works better. If you want a hassle-free, straightforward tax system, the new regime might be a better choice. With the budget announcement on February 1st, there is a speculation about potential changes to tax slabs and benefits. Basic exemption limit may increase to Rs 10 lakh in the new regime. The new 25% tax slab could be introduced for middle income earners. Standard deduction might be raised to Rs 1 lakh, benefiting salaried employees. If these changes are implemented, the new tax regime may become more attractive. But will it be enough to encourage more taxpayers to shift? Let's compare the numbers. Alright, let's settle this old age debate. Old tax regime versus new tax regime. Which one saves you more money? Think of it like choosing between a buffet and a la carte menu. The old tax regime is like a buffet. You get multiple options or deductions, but you have to eat everything to make it worth the price. The new tax regime is like an a la carte. You pay only for what you eat, but there's no fancy add-ons. Let's break it down. In new tax regime, if you have income up to Rs 3 lakh, there's no tax. Between 3 to 6 lakh, it's 5%. 6 to 9 lakh, it is 10%. Rs 9 to 12 lakh, it is 15%. And for 12 to 15 lakh, it is 20%. And above 15 lakh, it is 30%. Sounds simple, right? But there's a catch. This regime says no exemptions, no deductions, no stress.
So will there be any changes to the tax slabs or any increase in standard deduction, as many experts are eyeing, at least from Nirmala Sitharaman? Well, we'll find out tomorrow when the union budget is presented at 11 a.m. CNN News 18 is going to be your destination for all that is wanted by the government, all that is wanted by India, and what the government can deliver on. That coverage begins at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Do catch us then, but for now, we're slipping into a quick break.
Here's a reality check, and we're going to tick through three things that he said. The first one was that former Presidents Barack Obama and Joe Biden undermined aviation safety standards with DEI hiring practices at the FAA. That is just misleading. Now, we should note that this administration recently wiped the federal websites, many of them, of any mention of DEI. But when you do an Internet Archive search, the FAA's DEI policy has actually been on the agency's website and actually been in effect since at least 2013, and certainly during the first Trump administration. So he's trying to link it to these two past presidents, but it in fact was very much in effect and on the website during his first presidency. And then this idea of lowered standards. I should point out that despite today's air disaster, Jim, the FAA points out that they have some 45,000 flights that land and take off, traveling with 2.9 million people every single day, and this sort of incident is incredibly rare. So the United States is still considered the gold standard when it comes to aviation safety. But I want to go to the next thing that he said. The president said, this was the claim, and I'm quoting, the FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workplace. They want them in so that they can be air traffic controllers. That claim is simply misleading. He also went on to say the FAA website states they include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, and there's a long list of other disabilities. And if you have any of those, you qualify for the position of controller. And that too is misleading. Look, he is pulling language that did exist on the FAA's DEI website. That language is certainly there, but they were speaking about a broader commitment to not discriminating against people with disabilities across the federal government. And as we know, there are laws on the books that make it illegal to discriminate against someone because of disabilities. But on the FAA website, it also states that if you are going to be an air traffic controller, you have to pass a medical examination, a security investigation, an FAA air traffic pre-employment skills assessment, and you also have to attend the academy. And the academy is quite stringent. And the bottom line is, if you don't have the skills to pass through the air traffic control academy, you are not directing planes in the tower. So that was misleading. Here's a reality check, and we're going to tick through three things that he said. The first one was that former Presidents Barack Obama and Joe Biden undermined aviation safety standards with DEI hiring practices at the FAA. That is just misleading. Now, we should note that this administration recently wiped the federal websites, many of them, of any mention of DEI. But when you do an Internet Archive search, the FAA's DEI policy has actually been on the agency's website and actually been in effect since at least 2013, and certainly during the first Trump administration. So he's trying to link it to these two past presidents, but it in fact was very much in effect and on the website during his first presidency. And then this idea of lowered standards. I should point out that despite today's air disaster, Jim, the FAA points out that they have some 45,000 flights that land and take off, traveling with 2.9 million people every single day, and this sort of incident is incredibly rare. So the United States is still considered the gold standard when it comes to aviation safety. But I want to go to the next thing that he said. The president said, this was the claim, and I'm quoting, the FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workplace. They want them in so that they can be air traffic controllers. That claim is simply misleading. He also went on to say the FAA website states they include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, and there's a long list of other disabilities. And if you have any of those, you qualify for the position of controller. And that too is misleading. Look, he is pulling language that did exist on the FAA's DEI website. That language is certainly there, but they were speaking about a broader commitment to not discriminating against people with disabilities across the federal government. And as we know, there are laws on the books that make it illegal to discriminate against someone because of disabilities. But on the FAA website, it also states that if you are going to be an air traffic controller, you have to pass a medical examination, a security investigation, an FAA air traffic pre-employment skills assessment, and you also have to attend the academy. And the academy is quite stringent. And the bottom line is, if you don't have the skills to pass through the air traffic control academy, you are not directing planes in the tower. So that was misleading. Here's a reality check, and we're going to tick through three things that he said. The first one was that former Presidents Barack Obama and Joe Biden undermined aviation safety standards with DEI hiring practices at the FAA. That is just
Thank you for staying with us here on Nation at 5. We have some breaking news now coming in. There's a big jolt to the Aam Aadmi Party in election season. Delhi goes to polls on the 5th of February, and ahead of that, several MLAs have decided to dump the party. At least 4 of them have resigned from the primary membership of the Aam Aadmi Party. This is what we're given to understand. They say they've lost faith in the party, accusing Arvind Kejriwal of following politics of pandering to vote banks and destroying the anti-corruption plank of the party. Rohit Mehrolia, Madan Lal and Naresh Yadav are the 3 MLAs that have resigned. They have resigned. Madan Lal has resigned as the MLA of the party. He's also resigned from the primary membership. Akash, my colleague, now joining us, getting us more details. Akash, all 3 of them resigning, claiming they've lost faith in the party and the party's mission.
Exactly, and this number is not limited to just 3. Poonam, we are learning about some more MLAs, though we are looking for confirmation as well. At this point in time, yes, these 3 MLAs, including Rohit Kumar Mehrolia and Naresh Yadav as well, these MLAs, sitting MLAs of Aam Aadmi Party, have alleged that party is forgetting the actual mission of its formation. And in fact, they are very disappointed with the kind of decisions that have been taken by the party leadership. And in fact, they are talking about everything else that is very much there in the public domain and that we have heard from people who have left the party. As of now, in fact, sources within the Aam Aadmi Party are telling us that more than 5 to 6 MLAs, in fact, have resigned, and all of these MLAs were not given tickets this time around in these assembly elections, and this is possibly the reason why they were disappointed with the decisions of the party. But as of now, this is a big setback for Aam Aadmi Party, where more than 5 to 6 MLAs of the Aam Aadmi Party have resigned from the primary membership of the Aam Aadmi Party.
And the timing is extremely suspect, isn't it? And that's extremely crucial as well. We're just about 4 days away from when Delhi goes to elections, Akash. If ticket distribution was the only concern, if they were miffed over not being given a ticket, that could have happened ages ago. But they decided to wait until the 11th hour, so to say, before taking that decision.
And a group resignation is something that is sending a larger message. In fact, we are getting confirmation of Rajesh Rishi, who is an MLA from Janakpuri area of West Delhi. He has in fact resigned, and he has written on his Twitter, and I quote, अन्ना आंदोलन से जन्मी भ्रष्टाचार मुक्त दिल्ली बनाने के लिए अरविंद केजरीवाल द्वारा बनाई गई आम आदमी पार्टी जो अब भ्रष्टाचार युक्त पार्टी बन गई है, जिसे मैं बड़ी दुखी मन के साथ प्राथमिक सदस्यता और पार्टी के सभी पदों से इस्तीफा दे रहा हूं. Rajesh Rishi was very much there, who was disappointed with the ticket being given to Praveen Kumar, who is a sitting councillor from that particular area. In fact, both the members of Aam Aadmi Party who are involved in a verbal spat. In fact, we saw several reports. But this time around, several MLAs have resigned, a group resignation we can call it, because more than 5 to 6 MLAs have resigned simultaneously. In fact, they have posted their letters on social media, and they have alleged that party is forgetting the actual mission, and that's why they're not happy with the kind of decisions that have been taken and they're resigning.
Right, Akash, do keep a track of how the Aam Aadmi Party responds to this. But for the moment, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. Shifting focus now to what's making news worldwide, and it's Donald Trump and his new administration. At least 2 of his picks saw an intense grilling at their Senate hearing, at the Senate confirmation hearing. Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard both were grilled for several hours during that particular hearing. But what was interesting is that both of them invoked their Hindu roots. In fact, Kash Patel decided to touch his parents' feet before he actually went ahead with that hearing. He also invoked and chanted Jai Shri Krishna before making his opening statements. Tulsi Gabbard, on the other hand, spoke of criticism that has often come to the fore, calling her a stooge for Prime Minister Modi and for Russian President Vladimir Putin. She spoke about Democratic senators and accusing them of religious bigotry as well.
Democrat senators in the past resorted to anti-Christian bigotry against some of President Trump's judicial nominees like Amy Coney Barrett and Brian Boucher. I condemn those actions as a Democrat in Congress at the time, as religious bigotry must be thoroughly condemned by all of us, no matter the religion. Unfortunately, there are some Democrat senators who still don't understand the principle of freedom of religion and Article 6 of the Constitution. Quote, no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. Unfortunately, they're once again using the religious bigotry card, but this time trying to foment religious bigotry against Hindus and Hinduism. If anyone is sincerely interested in knowing more about my own personal spiritual path of Hinduism, I welcome you to go to my account on X, where I'll share more on this topic. Before I close, I want to warn the American people who are watching at home. You may hear lies and smears in this hearing that'll challenge my loyalty to and my love for our country. Those who oppose my nomination imply that I am loyal to something or someone other than God, my own conscience, and the Constitution of the United States, accusing me of being Trump's puppet, Putin's puppet, Assad's puppet, a guru's puppet, Modi's puppet, not recognizing the absurdity of simultaneously being the puppet of 5 different puppet masters. The same tactic was used against President Trump and failed.
I'd like to welcome my father, Pramod, and my mother, Anjana, who are sitting here today. They traveled here to get here from India. My sister's also here, Nisha. She also traversed the oceans just to be with me here today. It means the world that you guys are here. Jai Shri Krishna.
Staying with the United States, there was a fatal crash collision that we saw over the Potomac River in Washington yesterday, claiming at least 60 lives when a Black Hawk helicopter collided with a passenger plane that went down in that frigid river water. There were rescue operations that were going on for over 20 hours. What has happened after that is a controversial decision taken by President Donald Trump. He has decided to blame diversity hiring policies of his predecessors, both during the Biden and Obama administration, for what has transpired. This despite no details coming out of who was on board, who was piloting the plane or the chopper at the time. That has now triggered a massive controversy.
Must have only the highest standards for those who work in our aviation system. I changed the Obama standards from very mediocre at best to extraordinary. You remember that. Only the highest aptitude, they have to be the highest intellect and psychologically superior people were allowed to qualify for air traffic controllers. That was not so prior to getting there when I arrived in 2016. I put safety first. Obama, Biden, and the Democrats put policy first. And they put politics at a level that nobody's ever seen, because this was the lowest level. Their policy was horrible, and their politics was even worse.
We don't even yet know the names of the 67 people who were killed, and you are blaming Democrats and DEI policies and air traffic control and seemingly the member of the U.S. military who was flying that Black Hawk helicopter. Don't you think you're getting ahead of the investigation right now?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think with the names of the people, you mean the names of the people that are on the plane? You think that's going to make a difference?
Does it comfort their families?
They are
a
group of people that have lost their lives. If you want a list of the names, we can give you that. We'll be giving that very soon. We're in coordination with American Airlines. We're in coordination very strongly, obviously, with the military. But I think that's not a very smart question.
But are you
I'm surprised coming from you.
I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't.
Investigators on Thursday recovered the so-called black boxes from the passenger plane that collided with a U.S. Army helicopter at a Washington airport a day earlier. A preliminary report about the incident is expected within 30 days. National Transportation Safety Board member Tom Inman said the military helicopter was also equipped, quote, with some form of recording devices, and those will be read either by DoD or by us, referring to the Department of Defense. He said the agencies have agreements to share data on those recorders. The crash, which killed 67 people and left no survivors, is the deadliest U.S. air disaster in more than 2 decades. The cause remains unclear. Radio communications showed that air traffic controllers alerted the helicopter about the approaching American Airlines jet and ordered it to change course. For aviation experts like Daniel Bubb, those details are difficult to square.
The air traffic controller apparently was talking to the helicopter pilot and said, maintain visual separation from the American Airlines jet. And apparently that pilot acknowledged those instructions. So that's why I think this is very perplexing. It's hard to know. You know, did the helicopter pilot get confused? Was there a medical episode?
Reuters asked Mike Ginter, another aviation expert, whether he thought the accident could have been avoided.
I can tell you that the airspace in and around Washington, D.C. is the most restricted, regulated, controlled, complex airspace in the country. Any aircraft flying in that area is under direct and specific control of air traffic control, including that helicopter and that airliner. So if it's, the answer is yes, it was probably preventable, and that's exactly what the NTSB will uncover in their investigation.
Names of all the victims have not been released, but they included promising young figure skaters and people from Kansas, where the flight originated. Senator Maria Cantwell said that the dead also included citizens from Russia, the Philippines, and Germany. Chinese state media reported 2 Chinese citizens had been killed in the crash.
That's all we got back in for you in this edition of Nation at 5. But don't go anywhere, because Plain Speak is coming up next.
Good evening, I'm Griha Atul and this is Plain Speak. I'm coming to you live from the Green Lamb Laminates Primetime Studio. The budget session of the Parliament kicked off today with President Draupadi Murmu's address, where she highlighted India's economic growth and the government's ongoing reforms. However, reactions to her speech quickly took centre stage. Senior Congress leader Sonia Gandhi was overheard remarking that the president appeared quote-unquote very tired by the end of her speech, while Rahul Gandhi dismissed it as boring. Though Mrs. Gandhi refrained from making any official statement to the media, her candid comment did not go unnoticed by the press. Meanwhile, Pune MP Pappu Yadav weighed in, calling the president a mere rubber stamp of the government's, while Trinamool Congress MP Kalyan Banerjee described the speech as both quote-unquote funny and depressing. The BJP, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, swiftly hit back, condemning the Gandhi's remarks as an insult to India's first tribal woman president. Union Minister JP Nadda demanded an apology, particularly for the term poor lady, calling it a reflection of the Congress party's quote-unquote elitist, anti-poor and anti-tribal mindset. In fact, the Rashtrapati Bhavan also released a statement on Sonia Gandhi's remarks, stating that they have quote-unquote clearly hurt the dignity of the high office and therefore are unacceptable. Congress, however, insists that Sonia Gandhi's comments stem from empathy